Okay, so back in February, this particular customer had agreed a contract with us for us to deliver the training element of a new case management system implementation. And so just as we were starting that project at the beginning of March, lockdown hit us. So of course, that did give a big challenge.
Well, yeah, our traditional method, a learn stream method of delivering training, which is partly by digital and then partly in the classroom to go through kind of specific how that person's actually going to use the system. That just wasn't going to work. So to protect the safety of all of the staff, we had to deliver all of the training online. So we've decided for this project to deliver a 3-stage approach for everybody. So the first stage was the tried and tested generic digital training that we already have for this particular system, so everybody needed to do that. And then for people who were going to use the system in a more complex way, people who would have traditionally come into the classroom, we split that training into 2 stages. So we've got stage 2 and stage 3, and that made up what would usually be a traditional classroom training. So to give you a bit more information on that, stage 2 was where we've converted all of the content that would have been covered into digital learning, and this has all of our benefits of LearnStream. So we use scenarios to add a bit of context to the training. We've got the tutorials are interactive from the start, so they immediately engage the learner, and then also knowledge checks as well. So that means that we are very, very sure that people have understood the content. 3 was the virtual classroom session. So that was with a live trainer, and that meant that the learners could actually ask questions, could get a bit of practice on the live training system as well. So they complete exercises, but be there with a safety net of the trainer being there, so that they can, if they get stuck, they can ask questions and have a bit of discussion on there. And those sessions were about 2.5 hours. It wasn't a huge lengthy session, because we thought trying to get people to sit at their computers for half a day or a day was just too much. So content was covered digitally, and then virtual sessions just to enforce that. Lots of feedback. So feedback from the digital elements, so the generic and the tailored stuff. Feedback from the virtual sessions, so everybody needed to fill in those details, and we would make sure that we were monitoring that feedback and making any changes that needed to be made. But we, at the end of everything, we've got over 95% satisfaction on the training. So definitely the initial plans and then also the tweaks that we made definitely worked.
We also used quizzing as well, didn't we? And to actually monitor how effective people were at absorbing the training, and then once they were live, that could be also monitored in terms of how effectively people were using the system, and whether they really needed to seek additional support from the floor workers. So with pre-recorded sessions, they are very valid, and we would use them too, and it safeguards against things like your training system going down, for example. But the digital element really gives you a bit more scope for monitoring what the learners actually picked up. Also, the digital learning can be constantly evolved. So as Sue said, we took that feedback on board, we looked at the evaluations, and we tweaked the learning as we went through the programme. Also, because that digital learning became a living thing, it has left them with, as Sue said, a legacy, because actually the local authority can now continue to use that post the system go live for any new starters that come and join them, so that I feel like that we've left them with a much better legacy and a much better tool for continuing that learning.
So the biggest outcome was that we managed to get everybody trained during the pandemic, and on time. So that was 1,800 people, and to do that we created 180 different modules, different digital learning modules, packaged them up into 30 courses so that it was role specific. They were doing training that was very specific to their role, and we also delivered over 400 virtual sessions as well. With all of those training interventions, we got a 95% satisfaction rating, we've got feedback on all of those sessions.
Yeah, so I think from our perspective, the outcome of the training was that it was a resounding success. And I think from the customer's perspective as well, the reality was that they could go live with the knowledge that their staff knew how to use the system effectively.
So for most of our customers, a huge benefit is time, getting their time back. So we had originally forecasted that people would need to be doing 2 to 3 days of training using our traditional methodology. Using this approach, we actually managed to reduce that by 48%.
And that's, really an important statistic for frontline workers because, nobody wants to be spending time travelling to training, spending hours in a training session when actually they could be spending that time with their service users. In those key roles, especially in a pandemic, to give time back so that they can spend time with the service users is really, really important, and it was a great benefit of the new approach.
So I think any organisation could benefit from a solution like this. We're obviously not sure how long things like lockdowns and rolling lockdowns are going to last, but there are many benefits to delivering the training online.
Yeah, as Sue said, there's cost savings, there's time savings, you get longevity with your training programme. And I really think that, it doesn't matter what sector you're in or what kind of organisation you are, you have to make sure that your workforce are upskilled in the right way. And we've all learned from this pandemic that there are different ways of doing things. And I think this approach, this methodology could be applicable, to anybody.